All right, sports fans, how's everybody out there doing? William Martin coming at you one more time here on YouTube with another edition of the 300 Pounds of Sports Knowledge Podcast. It's that time of the week, folks, my weekly picks in the world of the National Football League. Now, I expected the contest this Thursday night between the Pittsburgh Steelers and Tennessee Titans to be a tight one. I said Pittsburgh 17, Tennessee 16, where in fact it was Pittsburgh 20 and Tennessee 16. As a Pittsburgh Steelers, it hasn't been pretty, but they continue to win and they find themselves in the hunt for a playoff berth. Now, with that said, we got some good games on tap for tomorrow, as well as the Monday night affair. And with that said, here are my picks for week number 9 in this NFL season. Now, the action gets started tomorrow morning in Germany, as you're going to have the 6-2 Kansas City Chiefs taking on the 6-2 Miami Dolphins. And of course, it's a reunion as you got Tyreek Hill going up against his former club. Of course, Tyreek Hill was a part of the Super Bowl champion Chiefs back in the 2019 season, played a couple more years before Kansas City before being traded to the Miami Dolphins. Since then, Kansas City has still gone on to win a Super Bowl. They're not as flashy on offense, but they still get it done. Why? Because you've got one of the best play callers to ever get it done in Andy Reid from an offensive standpoint. You got one of the best quarterbacks in the NFL right now in Patrick Mahomes, and you also have one of the better tight ends in Travis Kelsey. But this Kansas City team is playing defense, and they're going to have their hands full tomorrow morning as they look to slow down Tyreek Hill, Jalen Waddle, and this Miami offense. But what we've seen so far from the Dolphins, yes, they're 6-2, but they're not too good against the teams that have winning records. That's the big thing for me. And of course, you're going up against the maestro, if you will, and I'm talking about Patrick Mahomes. Will this Miami defense have enough to slow down Kansas City? I'm not sure. And because of that, I'm going to take Kansas City tomorrow in Germany by the score of 24-20. Now, coming back stateside, you're going to have a clash between the 4-4 Minnesota Vikings and the 4-4 Atlanta Falcons. And for Minnesota, this is their first contest sans Kirk Cousins at quarterback, and they know that they're going to have to be without him for the rest of the season. It's going to be the rookie Jaron Hall out of BYU, and of course, earlier this week we saw the Vikings make the trade with the Arizona Cardinals to acquire veteran quarterback Josh Dobbs. But on the flip side, for the Atlanta Falcons, it looks like this team has given up on the young quarterback Desmond Ritter as they've handed over the reins to veteran quarterback Tyler Heineke. We know that Tyler Heineke is one of those guys. He'll give you flashes, and he'll look like a Pro Bowler 1 minute, and then the next minute he'll look like a third stringer. So it's going to be interesting to see what Vikings defensive coordinator Brian Flores is going to be able to cook up for Mr. Heineke and this Falcons offense. But nonetheless, Atlanta is a different team at home. I think that trend continues tomorrow. And because of that, I'm going to take the Falcons by the score of 24-13. Now in Cleveland, you're going to have the 4-3 Browns hosting the 1-7 Arizona Cardinals. Cleveland comes into this contest heavily favored. They're expecting the return of quarterback Deshaun Watson. Let's see how effective he'll be. But you've got a rock solid defense for this Browns team going up against a quarterback in Clayton Tune that is set to make his first start in the NFL. Of course, the Cardinals traded quarterback Josh Dobbs earlier this week. And what we've seen so far from this Cardinals team, and we knew it was going to be an uphill battle this year, they played good in the first half, but it has not translated to a complete game. They only did that once when they were able to upset the Dallas Cowboys. So it's going to be interesting to see. You got a first-time quarterback in Clayton Tune, first-year quarterback rather in the NFL, going up against a Browns defense led by coordinator Jim Schwartz, along with defensive end Myles Garrett. Regardless of how Deshaun Watson looks tomorrow, I think that's a recipe for disaster. And for all of you fantasy buffs out there, if you've got the Browns defense, you might want to start them in this one. Cleveland's favored by 11 at home. I'm going to take them by 10, and I'm going to take the Browns to win 27-17. Now at Lambeau, you got the 2-5 Green Bay Packers hosting the 3-5 Los Angeles Rams in a contest where both teams are looking to get back on track. Of course, the Packers had that fast start where things have not gone well. And I know that there's some finger pointing going around in Green Bay right now You got a young quarterback in Jordan Love, but you also have a lot of young players around him as well. On the flip side for the Rams, quarterback Matthew Stafford appears to be a game time decision with that thumb injury. And for the Rams, they need to get back on track after blowing a second half lead rather a couple of weeks ago at home against the Steelers, and then of course just being run off the field completely last Sunday at the hands of the Dallas Cowboys. I'll tell you like this: this is a classic pick 'em, if you will, and I say it. If the Rams can get Stafford to go, I like their chances. If not, I'm going to roll with the Packers. But as of right now, Stafford appears questionable. That's good enough for me, and I'm going to take Los Angeles on the road by the score of 23-17. Now in Foxborough, somebody's got to win this game, as you got the 2-6 New England Patriots hosting the 3-5 Washington Commanders. And for both of these teams, the 2023 NFL season cannot end quick enough for either one of them. But I'll tell you like this, it's going to be interesting to see how both of these clubs play over the second half of the season. Of course, Washington just traded both of their starting defensive ends this week. And in their minds, they play better without Chase Young and Montez Sweat. So we're going to see if that theory holds true tomorrow. But you've got a young quarterback in Sam Howell going up against Bill Belichick and a Bill Belichick defense. And of course, it's the same old adage, if you will, over the years when facing the New England Patriots and Bill Belichick. He will make life tough for an opposing young quarterback. And I think that trend continues tomorrow in Foxborough. And because of that, I'm going to take New England by the score of 20-17. Now, in the Superdome in New Orleans, you're going to have the 4-4 Saints looking to get back on track as they host the 2-6 Chicago Bears. New Orleans comes into this contest favored by 8 points. The Saints, for my money, are better than their record. But to quote Bill Parcells, you are what you are. I like the Saints defense in this one going up against the Bears offense, but then we need to see more consistency from the Saints offense. If New Orleans can get it consistently going on offense between their run and pass attack, they're going to be a tough problem on the NFC come January. I'm not sure how it's going to play out for them at that point, but nonetheless, I like New Orleans' chances tomorrow at home over the Bears by the score of 27-17. Now, a big one in Baltimore, as you're going to have the 5-2 Seahawks rolling into town to take on the 6-2 Baltimore Ravens. And for the Ravens and quarterback Lamar Jackson, he is playing like an MVP candidate. You just love the way that he's slinging that football around. And I know that the Ravens have added some pieces, but at the end of the day, as Lamar goes, so do the fortunes of this team. Now, the Seahawks find themselves in first place in the NFC West. Can they keep it up? Geno Smith at quarterback for Seattle going up against this Ravens defense. I think that's going to be the key. What Seattle wants to do, they want to run the football and stay out of second and third long, because if you give this Ravens defense the opportunity, they're going to pin their ears back and come after Geno. And then, of course, the crowd factor at M&T Bank Stadium. Can Seattle navigate that? I'm not sure. And because of that, I'm going to take the Ravens at home by the score of 30-20. Now in Houston, you're going to have the 3-4 Texans hosting rather the 3-4 Tampa Bay Buccaneers. And for the Bucks, they come into this contest looking to end their 4-game losing streak. They've been basically in all the games. It's been a play here or a play there that has prevented the Bucks from winning. But you look at the Texans tomorrow, they're not going to have the services of Bernard Pierce at running back. That changes the perspective of this offense, in my opinion. And then this Texans defense, as good as they've been, will they be able to slow down the duo of Chris Godwin and Mike Evans at wide receiver? And can they find a way to put enough pressure on Bucks quarterback Baker Mayfield? I'm not sure about that. And because of that, I'm going to take Tampa to get back on track tomorrow by the score of 22-20. Now, the Carolina Panthers finally got their first win of the season last week, and they're going to look to make it two in a row tomorrow when they host the 3-5 Indianapolis Colts. And for Indy, they come into this contest favored by 2.5 points. But then you look at their quarterback, Gardner Minshew, and Gardner Minshew is one of those guys. He can throw you into a game and he can also throw you out of a game. So it's going to be interesting to see if this Panthers defense is able to put enough pressure on him to get that job done. You got to like the connection that you're seeing with rookie quarterback Bryce Young and the veteran wide receiver Adam Thielen. He was brought in, to give this wide receiver room some experience, and of course, This is a guy who knows how to move the chains, and he's known how to do that throughout his entire career. I look at this contest. I think it's going to be a back and forth affair. Last team to possess the football will win, and I'm going to give that edge to Carolina by the score of 27-24. Now, tomorrow in Vegas, you're going to have the 3-5 Las Vegas Raiders hosting the 2-6 New York Giants. And what a week that it's been for both of these teams. The Giants thought they had one in the bag last week, and it wasn't a pretty one, but nonetheless, it was a win whatsoever against the New York Jets before the special teams did them in. And of course, the rest was history. For the Raiders, we saw them part with their general manager as well as their head coach, Josh McDaniels. And in steps Antonio Pierce as the interim head coach for the Raiders. And of course, for Pierce, he grew up as a Raiders fan in Compton. These are the days when the Raiders played in LA. And how fitting that his first game as the interim head coach of the Raiders comes against the Giants. Why? Because the Giants were one of the two teams that Pierce played for at linebacker in the NFL. And of course, he helped the Giants win Super Bowl 42 back in the 2007 season when they upset the previously undefeated New England Patriots. Now, of course, none of the personnel from that Giants team is still around on this Giants team, with the exception of Charles Way on the sideline, and then of course the front office with the Mara family and the Tish family. But nonetheless, if you're AP, you got to love this opportunity going up against your former team. Now, Jimmy G has been benched at quarterback for the Raiders in favor of Aiden O'Connell. And it's going to be interesting to see how this team responds to O'Connell at quarterback, and also how they respond to the new head coach in Antonio Pierce. For the Giants, of course, they're hopeful to welcome back quarterback Daniel Jones, but this offense just needs consistency. This Giants offense, excuse me, to say it's been bad would be an understatement this year, as it's been very painful to watch. The Giants need to find some consistency on offense, and what a better team to do it against than a Raiders defense that has been getting torched in recent games. This is going to be a back and forth affair, and not in a good way. Somebody has to win this game. Both teams have been underachieving this year. Of course, you want to give the nod to the Raiders, being due to the fact that they're home, and also the fact that they've got an interim head coach going in Antonio Pierce. But I'm going to give the slight edge to the New York Football Giants in this one. And I'm going to take Big Blue on the road by the score of 20-19. Now, the big showdown in Philadelphia is you got the 7-1 Eagles hosting the 5-2 Dallas Cowboys. And when you think about Cowboys Eagles over the years, there's no love lost here. I mean, for me, we have rivalries in the NFL, yes. But when you think about Cowboys Eagles, it's like the Hatfields and McCoys. There is no love lost between these teams. And it goes back, so many generations, whether you're talking about the Eagles playing at the Vet, the Cowboys playing at Texas Stadium, or of course, their respective venues right now. But nonetheless, these are two of the better teams in the NFC, two of the better teams in the NFL. And it's going to come down to which team can win the line of scrimmage. The Eagles, for all of their playmaking ability at the wide receiver position with Devonta Smith and, of course, A.J. Brown, it still comes down to their ability to run the football. Now, for the Eagles, they're going to try to take that run game from Dallas away and try to make quarterback Dak Prescott one dimensional. And the thing is this: when you make Dak one dimensional in that pocket, and you know that the passes are coming, more than likely he's going to turn that football over. And if Dak has one or two turnovers tomorrow evening for the Cowboys, the Dallas could be in for a long contest, because it doesn't take much for that crowd at Lincoln Financial Field to get riled up for this one. And if you give them something to cheer about, they're going to take it and run with it. I think the Cowboys need to get off to a quick start, because they cannot afford to be in chase position tomorrow evening against the Eagles, because it could be an uphill battle. But there's just too much talent on this Eagles team on both sides of the ball. I think they find a way to score enough on this Cowboys defense, keep them off balance. And because of that, I'm going to take Philadelphia by the score of 34-27. Now, tomorrow night, it's a big one in Cincy between AFC heavyweights, as you're going to have the Buffalo Bills strolling into town with a record of 5-3, taking on the Cincinnati Bengals. And for Cincinnati, after the slow start, they have gotten their groove. Quarterback Joe Burrow appears to be healthy. This defense is flying around the football. And of course, as long as you can protect Joe Burrow, he's going to get the ball to the bevy of playmakers of wide receiver led by Jamar Chase. Now, for Buffalo, it's one of those where at times it looks good and at times it doesn't. And for me, my biggest thing with the Bills is this. I think they have a habit of playing down to the level of their competition. And that's why they have several losses so far this season to teams with losing records. For Buffalo, they've got to go out there and start strong. They've got to score touchdowns whenever they have the opportunity because Cincinnati's definitely going to go out there and try to score touchdowns as well. I look at this one of those back and forth affairs, and I'm not trying to sound like a broken record on this one, but it's one of those where the last team that possessed the football will more than likely win. And because of that, I'm going to give Houday the nod at home tomorrow night by the score of 27-24. And finally, on Monday night at the Meadowlands in East Rutherford, you're going to have the 4-3 New York Jets hosting the 3-4 Los Angeles Chargers. And for the Jets, of course, they were written off after the Aaron Rodgers Achilles injury in week number one. But this team, it hasn't been pretty, but they found a way to win games. Quarterback Zach Wilson has done just enough, but it's been, you know what? Don't go out there and lose the game for us. That's basically what he's done for the Jets. Now, on the flip side, this Jets defense, they've been rock solid, and they're going to need to continue to be rock solid going up against one of the better quarterbacks in the AFC in Justin Herbert. And I've talked about teams playing down to the level of their competition. The Chargers have done that, and this is why they're 3-4. I like this Jets defense going up against this Chargers offense. I think Robert Saleh and company will make life tough for Justin Herbert on Monday night, and I think the Jets offense just does enough to escape with the 19-18 win. So, folks, those are my picks for this weekend in the world of the National Football League. And as always, I want to take this time out to thank you for tuning into the 300 Pounds of Sports Knowledge podcast here on YouTube. I want to take this time out to thank all of you fine folks out there for tuning in. And if you have not already, please feel free to subscribe to this channel. Now, if you're on the X, formerly known as Twitter, please feel free to follow me at 300 Pounds of Sports. And like I always say, if you follow me, it'll be my pleasure to follow you right back. There's also the sports discussion group on Facebook at the Sports Depot 365. Now you can check it out, drop a line, and be a part of one of the better sports debating sites going on social media. So once again, fine folks, my name is William Martin, and I am signing off. And I'm saying take care and have yourselves a wonderful day.